everybody, and welcome to the 5th episode of Trucker's Delight FTP. We are going to need y'all to buckle up because we've got quite the show for you today. We are covering Turnabout Intruder, and I would like to introduce my wonderful co-hosts. Obviously, there's William Wofford, who is drinking with us for the first time, so this is going to be truly epic. And then I also want to introduce my dear friend, and I swear to God, like, you cannot be my friend and be on this show. It helps if you're my friend, but it's not required. But Nora happens to be one of my really close friends for years and years and years, and she and another friend and her husband are doing an amazing new cooking show on YouTube. And Nora, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, hello, good evening, and thank you for having me on your show. I'm very excited. I'm fangirling everywhere. But our show is called Bone Epic Geek, and it's where we take our favorite geeky fandoms in video games, TV, movies, and we just make a delicious meal around it. We've done our latest one is a Gretzky, which was great. We've done Cowboy Bebop, Witcher, Critical Role, and you can find us here on YouTube at Bone Epic Geek Show.
And that sounds super exciting. And you will actually find a link to that particular amazing cooking show in the description box. Yes, Jermaine, there was a bit of a gulp.
Amazing. 30 seconds in. Here we go.
So, in the interest of transparency, it's Saturday night. We all have watched Turnabout Intruder, which is the subject of this week's episode. And it's terrible. And it requires...
Been drinking ever since.
Yeah, that mostly.
Very nice.
That mostly.
Very good.
No, it was really funny because I remember because Nora's background is actually not in Star Trek, and I remember telling her that like she could watch this, and she's like, "I'm gonna comb through and look for the misogyny." Yes. I'm like,
I know. I was like, I'm gonna see this nuance. I'm gonna put my thinking cap on and be focused, and they were just like, "It's here, girl, and it's here, and it's here." So.
It's like neon lights.
Yes.
Yeah. So Turnabout Intruder is the series finale for the original series, and it was filmed in 1969?
It wrapped on January 9th.
Mm-hmm. And interestingly enough, it sort of undercuts everything that we had been doing in TOS up to this point, with the exception of the misogyny, which is something we're going to get to. But hey, Nora, do you want to take us into the plot summary?
I want to hear this.
You're the newbie, and
I am absolutely prepared for this. I can do this. I've been practicing. No. Okay, here we go. So, Turnabout Intruder was the series finale. It was episode 23 of season 3. It started on New Year's Eve, which that's kind of explains some things. They were holiday cheer drinking. So it starts out with there was a distress call coming from Camus 2, and the team went there to see what was going on. It turned out to be a trick. Dr. Janice Lester, who was played by the amazing Sandra Smith. Not sure why she agreed to take this role, but she was great. Fantastic. It was all a plot. She was there. She wanted to steal Dr. Kirk's identity. And
Dr. Kirk?
Oh,
that's a lot of wine. Giving him a PhD.
30 seconds in, I'm already getting kicked out. Okay, no, Captain Kirk, she, of course, she was a female, so she hated being a female and wanted to be powerful like him. And there was an alien transference machine that she tricked him into, and they switched bodies. Like
that looked like pretty much like an epic 70s wall art.
I mean, for 1969, it was like woo. I mean, it was pretty great. So that happened. And of course, then they got, apparently she had researched all of the command book and she was ready. She was going to take over. But once they got back to the ship, 5 minutes in, she, of course, had a meltdown because she was a woman and emotional. So we followed that for the most of the show. And then she went really banana crazy and said everybody was committing mutiny and wanted to murder them all. Because of course, again, once a woman has power, she can't handle it. So we want to just get rid of all the witnesses.
Right, and it's kind of nuts, right? I mean, because she goes from, no, we're not going to put you in the brig. No, we are going to execute you in the hangar deck and
exactly.
then dump your body.
And they're like, no, this isn't done. And she's like, I'm really Captain Kirk. I'm not a woman. I'm not over emotional. So she tries to murder them all. And of course, Captain Kirk outsmarts her. And she is whisked away, can't lift her head up. And they rejoice. The end.
And literally end. And that's how the series ends.
Yes,
and
like the last word was "if only," and that was the final words of the original series as they walked away.
Yeah. And the sad part is Nora has been remarkably charitable. Wow. It's so much worse than that. So much
really
worse.
Is. Even behind the scenes, like the actual William, like when William Shatner was interacting with Sandra Smith, I'm sure we'll get into it. It's like the misogyny 101. We could teach a class based on this episode.
And that's effectively what we're going to spend this hour doing. So let's start from the beginning. Okay. Let's talk about why Janice Lester, who is ostensibly a doctor, I don't think we ever find out what her PhD is in. But
I'll try to find out.
But I think it's pretty clear that Lester herself at one point had something going on. Everybody, the standard folks from the Enterprise beam down. So it's like Kirk's Black and Bones. Mm-hmm. Beam down from the Enterprise. They meet Dr. Coleman, and Janice Lester is moaning artfully on... Oh, boy. Yeah, it's a thing.
That was a moment.
Yeah. So she's moaning artfully on the bio bed or whatever.
And it had subtitles on, so it really did say moaning. And that's what she was giving us. She was giving us some moaning.
Yeah, just in case you didn't understand that that's what's going on or were hard of hearing, it was in fact moaning. Mm-hmm. And so there's this moment where she wakes up and she interacts with Captain Kirk, who swaggers over to her and grabs her hand. And one of the first things he said, this is before the opening credits. Okay. This is before the opening credits. We haven't even gotten past that amazing split infinitive to boldly go where no man has gone before. No. They are signposting to you where this is going. Because one of the first things she said is, she's raging. And she looks at Ed, she looks at Kirk, and she actually says, "Your world of starship captains doesn't admit women, and it's not fair." And Kirk's response is, "No joke, it's not. But you punished me and tortured me because of it." So we have already... It's 90 seconds in.
Yes.
We have had enough time to learn. We've had enough time to learn that it's Camus 2. We've had enough time to learn that they can beam down. And that's about it, y'all. That's about it.
Oh, and the moaning. We've had the moaning.
Oh, we had the moaning. And it's not even good moaning. It's just regular moaning. I'm
just going to drink for that.
The moaning would not stop.
The whole episode. I was like, oh no.
I'm like, are you having a constant orgasm?
I know. What is happening under there?
I have
good for you.
Nothing good. That's the sad part. Nothing good is happening under that sheet. It's really sad.
Poor Sandra.
I know. And it's already that 90 seconds in, Kirk is telling us, one, that it is true that Starfleet doesn't admit women, and he's made himself the victim here.
As they do.
He's made himself the victim.
Hashtag not all men.
So Janice Lester, and spoiler alert, if in fact you can have spoilers for something that
50 years old.
I know.
50 years old.
So, I think the time has run out.
Spoiler window is closed. So, but spoiler alert, basically, they portray Janice Lester as insane for the rest of this series. And I kind of want to start there because when we start talking about sanity and we start talking about emotional complications and that kind of thing, in fact, Bones actually starts talking about emotional instability at minute 17. Yeah, right there. In fact,
wait a minute.
I even captured
minute 17.
That's minute 17 of the episode.
It's emotional instability and erratic mental attitudes. I typed it. That was one of the pause moments I had.
I get too. You comb through shit, Marie.
I'm 17. I'm jotting that down.
Did you not notice that I had written down an actual quotation? So I don't want to hear it.
I believe you. I believe you. I know I'm quiet, but I'm really kind of tipsy right now. So it's like I am loving this shit. So, and I'm here for
Tell us more about what you're loving about this, because
I'll tell you because from a cinematic filmmaking perspective, I actually do have thoughts. Because all right. Remember when we were talking about I think we were talking about Angel 1 and I spoke with you and Robin and I had questions and I didn't know what was what. And I get it now. Okay. Well, this one I didn't have that issue.
Yes. Mm-hmm. No one had issue.
So
again, just as a disclaimer, Trekker's Delight advises you to imbibe responsibly.
Now, so what I'm thinking is this. I see Jermaine is really curious for what I'm about to say.
I mean, he's even leaned forward and has his interested Jermaine face.
There is a difference between a bad written episode and a morally terrible episode. Mm-hmm. It is widely known, and I somewhat agree with the belief that the last episode of Enterprise was a bad written one. It's terrible. This one, however, is just morally wrong on 10 different levels to the 30th power of morally wrong. It's like not only did you take the time to make Kirk, we know who William Shatner is. Okay. We even know who Gene Roddenberry was back then. Okay. I was sad that Uhura didn't make the episode either. Okay.
Was that weird to anybody else? Just as an aside, like at no point.
I didn't even know who that chick was over on comms. I was like, bitch, who are you? Now. So,
if you would like to play along at home, every time that particular admiral shows up,
just take a drink.
If you want.
I feel like we keep saying that we want to do drunk Trek, but literally every episode we're doing is like low-key drunk Trek. But anyway, so whereas Enterprise was just like badly written and they rushed it, and I get what was happening. I understand what was happening with UPN and all that, and all that. Oh, okay, whatever. But with this one,
we're going to the dark times now.
I know, but this one, we're literally saying that the Federation, screw the 2 prequels that we got now. You're saying that the Federation has not evolved as far as originally claimed because they do not promote women to the captaincy. So what in the world is going on? So again, I am taking out Discovery and I'm taking out Enterprise. I'm pretending they never existed. Of all the times they made speech after speech after speech about how evolved humanity has come, that they left certain ideals and beliefs behind, and now you're telling me that not only did this Federation, which is totally like a reaction that Picard had when they didn't go to save Romulus, it's just like they're not the Federation anymore. It's just like that made sense. Okay, No, there is no humanitarian evolution. There was none. And the alcohol is making me talk a little bit more than usual. And I'm sorry, but you know what the fuck.
You're speaking the truth, though, so please.
I'm just saying.
So everybody, this is mirror universe, William.
How are you going to sit here and tell me that the Federation in the 22nd century has backtracked 200 years in just one episode. Now, I understand that there are those episodes that either are questionable and didn't really hit the mark. Just like with Angel One, just like with what's the other one? There's a bunch of other ones where they missed the mark, but it wasn't genuinely bad. It wasn't genuinely terrible. It wasn't horribly written. This one is both horribly written, morally bad, and it ends there. That's where it ends.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, seriously, like this is the worst part. This is and again, we're jumping the gun a little, but that's fine. It ends with Janice Lester collapsing into Dr. Coleman's arms. And you know, what's interesting is he actually says that he loves her, but we've never seen any indication that she has any feelings for him. And so like he carts her off to take care of her for the rest of her life.
After 20 minutes of being in charge. Like, that was the most she could emotionally handle as a woman. Yes. I know.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, Turnabout Intruder really is a profoundly disappointing episode. And it bears mentioning that Roddenberry is actually responsible for the story. So one of the things that we are trying to discuss on FTP is what does a utopia look like? Who does this utopia serve? Who gets a seat at the table? And looking at Turnabout Intruder kind of interests me because apparently women don't get a seat at the table.
They can't handle it, apparently.
Right. Because one of the things that happens, right, is that Janice Lester transfers her consciousness into Kirk's body.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Right here. Again,
look at that.
I defy you to say that you have not seen this on somebody's wall before.
Look how happy she is.
And
that is our first.
Look at her. Like, look at that smile on her face.
She's like, "This is it. I'm gonna be a man."
And now she's aspiring to be a man. Now
it's not even that. It's not even that. And the episode tries to make it about that, but this is not an episode about gender dysphoria. That's not.
This is not an LGBT issue in the least.
No.
This is like a power issue, and
because it's about power. Janice is very clear. Nobody else, mind you. Nobody else is clear on this, and we're going to get to that in a second. But Janice is very clear that what she's looking for is she's looking for the power and the respect of being able to be a starship captain.
She says that very clearly. That's her intention. And I think like 5 minutes and 40 seconds in, I'm looking over here, I've got my notes. She says, and this was the first quote where I was like, let me just put this down and take a break. It's better to be dead than alone in the body of a woman.
I have that.
What?
As well.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
So now you are in turn degrading other women.
Mm-hmm.
I wished Uhura would have been there to hear that shit.
But I think that's why. I mean, I don't actually know why Nichelle Nichols isn't actually in this episode.
She had a singing engagement.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Nora.
I'm getting all this information from the Memory Alpha synopsis. This is not me. I just want to give props.
We have our new girl, Marie. We have our new girl.
We do.
I don't want to embarrass myself. I'll do research.
Again, there was no way you were ever going to embarrass yourself because, like, this is Trucker's Delight. It's a totally safe space, and I want to make that very clear. This is a safe space for good discussion.
I feel like I'm going to use that in some promo video. Because that sounded very profound.
Mm-hmm. That was very deep.
I think we need to, like, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but I think we need to raise our bar for what is deep.
I mean, it's in the middle of a panorama. I cannot raise anything.
It is
except this glass.
It is deeper than 50. It is deeper than 59 subscribers.
Cheers. I mean, honestly, and yes, I'm a casual Star Trek. I'm sorry. Please don't come.
We are at the 21-minute mark, and I have already lost control of this.
21 minutes? Oh my God.
I believe that Gene Roddenberry, who the story came from, he started this in April, and then he finished the screenplay in December. I think of 1968. I think he was just, high on holiday cheer and said, "This is how I felt watching it. Let me just make a misogyny bingo card, but I'm going to stack the deck. I got this. This is my win." And it was trope after trope after trope, emotional, and, unstable. It was just bad. And I've learned something that I didn't know before, that this is how the misogynists think that we actually see ourselves, Marie. We're just walking around thinking, I want to be powerful like a man. And that's just not the truth.
And that's what's interesting about it, because the fundamental premise here is that Janice has found herself caught within the bounds of the society, and she can go nowhere, right? She's not going to become a captain. She's not going to do whatever. So it's necessary for her to take Kirk's identity. Again, this is not... There we go.
I knew that was going to put the picture. I knew.
Janice Kirk.
Right there.
I just wanted him that gay as fuck. That's all I wanted.
I'm drinking to that.
I mean, I wouldn't have had anything to say if he had just be gay.
I mean,
but she's trying. I mean, she's caught in this situation where she's in the power minority, and there's nowhere else for her to go. Now, admittedly, one of the things that the episode really stresses is that Janice is nuts, to the point where, very, very late in the episode, about, I want to say maybe 15 minutes before the end, she is in the body of Captain Kirk, and she's on the bridge. This is after she's ordered the execution of Spock, Bones, and it's Spock and Bones, really, not Janice Lester. I think there's some confusion on that point. Mm-hmm. And she has a full-on meltdown because Chekhov and Sulu have this amazing conversation between the two of them where they're just sitting there and Captain Kirk is ordering executions. This is illegal. There's the only death penalty that we have is General Order 4, which is a callback to the Menagerie / the Cage, which was the beginning of, which was what, season 2? I may not remember that exactly, but that's the callback. And Janice is like, I don't care. I'm the captain. I have the power to do this. And so Chekhov is Chekhov and Sulu are sitting, at the helm and at ops, and or just having this conversation. And Sulu's like, well, I'm going to stand against this because this is clearly the worst idea I've ever heard. And, Chekhov is like, what can we do? Security stands between us and everything else. And first off, can we have a moment for that? Because when has Star Trek, the red shirts, have ever been competent enough to quell a rebellion?
There's only 2 at a time that's ever dispersed. I mean, there's not. You're fine.
And so I'm looking at at Chekhov, and I really think they actually trotted out the bad wig for this, just because one of the sequences with his hair, I'm just like, that's
I didn't notice that. Oh no,
that's a thing. I'm just like, how? I mean, they're almost like stormtroopers at this point. I'm kind of like, even if they shoot at you, nothing's gonna happen. It's fine. Mm-hmm. It's fine. They're going to shoot at you and then fall over dead. That's how this is gonna work.
We all know it. Yeah.
And so Sulu has this great moment where he says, I will do whatever I have to do to stand against this, because it's not just. which is this, and there's kind of a sub theme in this episode about justice. So,
but I agree. I hate that it's about. But the center of that, though, is that it's towards a woman, though. Like, you're taking this big stand just because you know something's not quite right with Captain Kirk. He's crazy. He's, they even said it over and over. Paranoia.
No,
hysteria.
At 17 minutes into a 50-minute episode, this is when Bones and Spock have kind of like a sidebar, and they're like, everybody, like the crew has noticed that Captain Kirk has been acting unusual, and they qualify the type of unusual with that fantastic moment that we've already referenced, right? It's emotional instability and erratic behavior.
Okay.
Because Captain Kirk's a woman.
Is a woman.
Yeah, and
so I think that it was
good job on getting the gender pronouns right. Like, excellent work. You're way ahead
69.
of me.
That's great.
That's great. Like, I'm here for this. Matter of fact, I will drink to that. I'm enthusiastic as shit right now.
It is the part of the evening where the Costco bourbon comes out.
Oh dear.
Girl, she made her camera shake.
We know that's serious. It's serious. All hands on deck.
Serious.
It is in fact serious. It's just, it's insane. Because one of the things that really bothers me about this episode, just really deeply and profoundly bothers me about this episode, is at no point does anyone take on Lester's complaint. Ever.
They treat the girl like she has hysteria and send her on her way.
I get her face.
Where Scotty actually talks about hysteria.
I hated this.
He talks about hysteria. And to this point, Scotty has actually been kind of like a bastion of good sense. There's a wonderful... So, all right. So let's back up for a second. One of the things that happens is that Spock figures out that the entity in Janice Lester's body is Captain Kirk, and he does that through the medium right here of a mind meld. And if you have ever read Kirk Spock fan fiction, this is one of the episodes that kind of like underscores that, because the preface to that is Kirk in Janice Lester's body tells Spock that Spock is the person who knows him best in the universe and knows his thoughts. And that's what prompts Spock to engage in the mind meld.
And they're best friends.
She's not best
friend. I have a lot of really close friends. Like, I have loved Nora for a very, very long time. I do not know that I would say.
But
that's fair.
I mean, that too, but how many times in the last few years has Spock already melded with Kirk?
That's also fair.
No, actually, this is the first time that Spock, I think, if I remember correctly, this is the first time that he does that.
Ooh.
Oh.
That'd be interesting to know.
Because one of the issues with the mind meld is this is TOS. This is not TNG, which is building on this history. This is TOS. And they've been kind of going back and forth over the nature of what Spock can do. And Spock is frequently served as almost like a Deus Ex Vulcan in many ways in terms of the story. He gets magical abilities based on what the story needs. And I honestly don't think it... I mean, I think the mind meld really becomes a big deal in the Mirror Universe episode, and then also Devil in the Dark when he melds with the Horta.
A Horta?
No, the Horta is a rock monster.
It's a monster that likes to fuck rocks.
No judgment.
No.
We don't kink shame.
I need you to put down your Boone's Farm for a second.
Oh, now we're judging. And then we're gonna drink.
No. Oh my god, Jermaine is gonna kick us off Trekker's Delight. Like he's gonna be like,
yeah, we're gonna be like,
I warned him. I warned you all what would happen.
We're gonna go straight to the outro, and that's gonna be it.
I'm just letting you know. This episode.
No, so like,
how
no,
do you not
before
have a hangover from switching bodies?
I mean,
Like,
well, she did. She was like, woo.
And
so,
like,
but Spock's mind melding abilities haven't really been. They've been fleshed out, but like not really to the extent we get in TNG. And I just lost William.
He's out. He's like, that's it. Drop the mic.
This was originally going to be a very serious episode, and clearly that did not happen.
That was an hour ago.
Oh
no!
I literally feel like Phlox coming out of hibernation.
Oh no! I don't know what that means, but that sounds great.
Someone should get the doctor. Wait, I'm the doctor.
But yeah, like, and none of that has really been fleshed out throughout the course of TOS. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's basically been like whatever the story needed, Spock could become. It's not really until TNG, in my opinion, that Vulcan physiology kind of gets nailed down in terms of what, and the movies, obviously, in terms of what they do. So I'm pretty sure this is the first time he melds with Kirk.
Yes, I just looked it up. You are correct.
At least on screen.
Yeah, oh no, I don't know what this means, but this is serious. I need a drink.
I mean, I've got no drinking and William in a mask. Like,
you know, it was crazy because even the women, Nurse Chapel, even at one point, and this got me too. This was Paul's number 2. She looked and said with her mouth into Janice Kirk, who was really Janice's eyeballs, and said, I wrote this down, what you've been through would have completely broken most of us. And I think that kind of sums up how we were seen as women through the eyes of this episode. Like, I mean, what we've been through would have broken us. We can't handle that.
It's amazing.
Who the hell did they console with to get the opinion of how a woman should act on this show?
Apparently,
anyone was consulted.
There's been some talk. Again, this was from the
from Memory
Alpha. Yes, they did the back, the legwork. I'm just following up. Apparently, this was commentary on what was happening. This was, late 68, early 69. The feminism movement was just, it was in your face. Bras were swinging around.
They're casting stones at glorious.
Yes, this was supposed to be a reactionary episode to what was happening in the feminism movement. This was kind of like, here's how I see it. And in fact, Dr. Brenton Mallon wrote 2 books on pop culture and how it affects masculinity. And the second one, he addressed this episode, and he said, this is great. This is fantastic. He said he sees this episode as a reactionary response to the radical feminism of the late 60s. Dr. Lester is a caricature and a condemnation of the feminism, evoking a fear of powerful and power-hungry women. And this is where it gets good. Women want to kill men and take their jobs, but ultimately they can't handle them. And I think that really sums up the entire episode.
No, that is exactly what's going on.
Which is crazy. Yes. And that's my face right now. I am disapproving. I'm a disapproving Vulcan.
Because that's actually one of the things that Kirk actually says, like Kirk in the body of Lester. Yes. Kirk says to Janice Lester, he talks about how you are, he literally says that you are ill-suited by training and by temperament.
Mm-hmm. At the end, he says, where was this quote? That it was, I can't find it, but she had an intense hatred of her womanhood.
Yeah,
and that's what caused her to do this.
I have thoughts. Yes. I have thoughts. So
the intense hatred, give me a second, William, and we'll get back to you, I swear. The intense hatred of her womanhood, I think, is actually a really interesting comment, because what it's it profoundly misunderstands what Lester is doing. Because it equates her womanhood with her lack of power. Because I think if Janice Lester had the opportunity to be a captain, none of this would have happened. What she's doing is she's fighting against a system that is not set up to welcome her.
And she's been jaded by
that. For no other reason than that she's female.
That she's female. And I think that's where the whole, where she says, I covet his power and I just want to be commander. Because I guess in Gene Roddenberry's mind, and the mind through all these people that let this script go forward, that's how women think. We can't handle it. So we can only handle it as a man. And to that, I say, let's drink to that.
Let's drink to how wrong that is. Let's
very wrong. Yes.
And that's, and it just amazes me just how far off the rails this episode goes. Now, I am not saying that TOS is a bastion of feminist thought. It is not.
It had its moments, though. It had stuff that we were just like, it had the first female in authority in pants. That's a big deal from 1960s, 1967.
So do you remember, okay, so you may not remember this, but one of the initial comments that is made.
Oh no, I missed the glasses. That's a serious moment.
Yeah.
William put his glasses. Where's my mask?
One of the initial comments that is made in the cage, and we see this in the menagerie, is there's a whole conversation that one of the Telosians has with Chris Pike about whether or not number one belongs on the bridge.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make.
I'm sorry, William. We got no.
You take it.
Okay, I have thoughts. Because I have thoughts.
I have thoughts through the bottom of this glass.
I'm pretty sure most of that's rosé at this
multiple
point.
Thoughts. You know why? Because I have a brain. Not the transparent brain that Dax was dating. Or like Mojo Jojo. I have my own brain.
Yes.
So I have thoughts. Do you understand this? And I have a constant...
I'm going to need you to tell me the thoughts.
I will tell you. I'm just acknowledging first that Jermaine has the strongest disapproval face I've ever seen in my life.
I'm glad I don't see it.
A couple of things. One,
Jermaine is looking at you like you've maligned his honor.
I warned you. I said it.
I love this.
Now
I love all
I'm going to make my point.
I'm here for it.
First, I never talked about Star Trek while I was tipsy or drunk before, so this is new for me. So, they came full circle with the original episode, the first one with Chris Pike, and this last one. See, I was willing to overlook the whole misogynistic comment about having a woman on the bridge from Christopher Pike. I was willing to let that go because they had to remake a pilot. I was willing to let that go. But it lets me know you just sanctioned that original episode. Now, obviously, Discovery already did that. But I'm just saying, you sanctioned the misogynistic behind it. Also, because we have 20 minutes left, this is usually the part where we talk about what can we do to make the episode better. All right.
Do we, though?
I can already think of a few things.
Basically burn the script and start over.
Now you take out 5 good lines that the show would actually be really good. Here's one of them. When Kurt sanctioned that the Federation really is this way by saying, "I know."
Mm-hmm. That's something.
That you just gave an indication. That line, and it's the only time he said it. Mm-hmm. You just butchered Starfleet. Every speech, every diplomat, every treaty you ever made literally went down the drain when you said those words. Mm-hmm. You don't care if other women have rights or not as long as they're an alien. But apparently, if they're a human, they still have to be subjects under you.
Oh, no.
That's number 2.
All right, I love you, but don't do that to your camera again.
I won't.
Number 3, you can
number 3. What you can also do to make the show better is if you really took it into context and said that this woman was crazy. If you really took it into that context, I need a proven mental illness that I need a proven one, not no made up hysteria shit.
Yeah, like I see the color pink and I'm okay.
Yes. Thank you. If
that's a thing. By the way, that's a thing that happens in this episode.
Yes, it does.
If he would have countered it and said that Starfleet has not had any ill intent against women, we've long passed that in the 21st century. This is because this reason, and you refused to go get treatment for it. Instead, you ran with your disgraced doctor and fucked him on this planet after killing your entire staff. Don't sit here and tell me because you're a woman. Then the episode would have been good.
I'm with you. I'm 100%. Yes.
Now, if you want to make the crazy bitch a crazy bitch, make her a crazy bitch, but don't make her a crazy woman. Do not do that. That's where you messed up. That's where you effed up. That's where when I went halfway through this episode and I wanted to take a drink then, I said, I don't give 2 shits or half a damn about Kirk at this point because he bullshit. Okay.
Fair. There's a lot of reasons not to give 2 Fs about Kirk at the
Oh boy, we're just skipping the glass.
We're at the bottle.
Kirk was on shit. And
I don't know that Jermaine is going to let us.
And one more thing. One more thing. Hold up.
Oh no, this is serious. I'm gonna lean in for this.
I can get historically that Uhura was doing a show at that point.
Yeah,
I think there's more to
only because Nora told you that.
I mean, maybe there could be.
I think there's more to the story. I'm gonna add to it. Nurse Chapel didn't really have that much of a role on TOS. She was just there. Okay, just like for season 1, Geordi was just there. Okay, well, when you take into context that Uhura was not there, and this was a show about women, Roddenberry took the script that he started in April and saw an opportunity to write it exactly the way he and his peers wanted us to see it. Because you and I both know, even under the scrutiny, even under the misogyny, and even under the tutelage racism of the era, Uhura would not have been written to go for that shit. She would have had something to say. Just like she said, it's not the sun in the sky, it's the son of God. She had stuff to say. And she would have said stuff about that. She would not have went what Kirk was going for. As a matter of fact, she would have been the first one to stand to him. And because it was the last episode, if she would have been there and Roddenberry had his dick in his pants, they would have gone for it. It was the last episode.
I don't know where else would have been.
You cancel me? What are you gonna
exactly.
Do? Yes. You throw a tomato at the screen and fuck the TV up? Bitch, ain't my professional TV. You watching it? You made me money now. So I'm just making a point. Uhura, yeah, she was at a show because she was told to go do that show. That's why she was at a show. I'm just saying it as any realistic African American Black story would. Take it and looking in between the lines of legends. I'm bring on the witness. Exactly.
There it is.
I'm letting you know. Just like we find out Martin Luther King was a Trekkie all along, I'm telling you right now, that woman was sent to that show because it was the last show. And to then it made sense to her because she wanted to leave the show anyway. Okay? She wanted to go do music and she did just that because she found out that was going to be the last episode. So they sent her on her way. Now, 10 years later, they brought out Motion Picture. That's a whole nother shit show we're going to talk about later on. But right here, I'm letting you know they sent her away because Uhura would not have gone for that shit, and it would have been hell if the audience would have saw that she only had 2 minutes of screen time and not said a word. That's why they had to take her out. That's why I think the show went the way it did, because there is a difference between the Enterprise of these other Voyagers saying screw you to the audience that scrutinized them, and this piece of shit that has literally butchered what the Federation stands for. There's a difference. There's a difference between.
I'm gonna need you to breathe.
What's happening?
Like, I'm gonna need you to breathe.
There's a difference between bad, immoral. There's a difference between bad writing, bad cinematic writing, because it's the last episode and you ain't got no more money and you ain't got no viewers, and then they'll complain about 10 years later when Discovery comes out. That's bad. Okay, that's bad. This is terrible. This is dishonorable. This is immoral. This is, you are stuck in the freaking past. It's like you are having a certain president elected all over again in the 22nd century.
Exactly how I feel.
The
That's
horror.
exactly how I feel.
Horror.
The horror. And if you're gonna make Kirk a woman, the least you can do is make him gay as fuck.
I mean, missed opportunity.
Well done, Nora. Well done.
Looking at Jermaine right now is very. I'm just saying.
He's like, how do I get out of this show?
I'm not even sure what to do with all of that. So, you know, we're gonna
this was not an accident.
I'm gonna need you to breathe.
This was an accident. This was not an accident. They did this on purpose. They did this on purpose because.
I like this.
Oh no! I just want to know that I was not involved in the muting.
Not an accident. Not an accident. He did this on purpose because he couldn't keep his dick in his pants.
And there it is.
Okay.
We just laid it all out.
Jesus wept. The doors of the church are open.
This
is for you, Robin.
So I do actually want to talk a little bit about just how far off the rails. I mean, William has communicated very much that this show has gone off the rails, but I kind of want to break it down just a little bit more. One of the things, like, is specifically about Shatner's performance in this entire whole shebang. There's literally a sequence when Bones comes into Kirk's quarters and they have this conversation about how Kirk needs to go and be evaluated because he's acting erratically. Kirk is literally in his sitting face there. Too. Kirk is filing his nails, y'all.
Yes, he's like. And this was right after their meltdown.
Tell her what I said.
That's apparently a thing. The sheer amount of tropes that we've got going on with Shatner's performance is okay. This is bad for Shatner. I'm just gonna say it. Everything he does as Janice Lester, you'll notice he pitches his voice higher. He exaggerates his emotions. He does his nails.
Has crazy eyes.
He has crazy eyes. At one point, he attempts to reinforce the seduction of Dr. Coleman. Mm-hmm. There's a great shot right here, here. Now, I mean, mad props to Shatner for going for it. By the way, mad props.
Yeah.
But every part of this performance hits on every single trope. Mm-hmm. Even when Sulu and Chekhov and the random lieutenant decide that they are not going to go along with Janice Lester's plan to execute these people illegally, she breaks down on the bridge right here.
It's a total meltdown.
It's a total meltdown. And it's very much a toddler tantrum.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not how women act.
No.
This is the embodiment of every negative stereotype of a woman in that time period. Girl,
I don't even know that it's necessarily that time period, my friend.
All time periods.
And it's like, I'm gonna tell you, I swear, one more thing.
Also, as an aside, I'm really proud of that screenshot, guys. I really caught that.
I mean, that encaptures. Look at that face. Look at his eyes.
One more thing, just one more quick thing. I swear I'm done for the rest of the show. I swear I'm done.
Uh-oh.
If she really had, don't mute me this time, Jermaine. I promise. I'm making a very valid scientific point. Manny will back me up on this. If she really had a realistic mental issue that she went bonkers with, that literally disgraced her from Starfleet, her and her lover doctor, right next to her after killing that entire crew. I'm still stuck on that, by the way.
Nobody mentioned it again.
I'm just like, how do you just
because clearly she's the one that's been the problem. Like, she's the one who's engaged in murder, not him.
Your consciousness, mental illnesses are a physical brain thing, and we don't fully understand the brain, but we do know that it's a physical issue of different chemistry in the brain. If you really did move your consciousness into Kirk, you should have left those problems behind in that other body for Kirk to deal with. Then you would have
I'm sorry, you were looking for logic in this show.
Exactly.
I'm not looking for logic. I'm saying that they defied logic. They defied purposely just to have a show. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, they missed over that whole thing. It's just like,
but again, like, the point is this is not a mental illness.
Yeah, right. It's being a woman.
This is being a woman.
This is how women actually think and feel and breathe.
So at one point, so there's this brief period when Spock finds out that Kirk is in Janice Lester's body, and Janice Lester as Kirk decides that what they're going to do is they're like, basically she accuses him of treason and mutiny, and so she basically says we're gonna convene a court martial, and no part of this court martial makes sense. Like, no part of it observes because bear in mind, we have already seen what a court martial looks like in TOS, because there's literally an episode called Court Martial. You'll never guess what it's about.
Is it the one where Kirk is on trial?
It is.
Okay.
So we know what that looks like. We know how that works. And no part of this is how any of that works. It's right. I kind of want to call attention to both Scotty and Bones here. So Janice Lester is losing it. Like, she is clearly unraveling. And they know something's up. They absolutely know something's up. Because this is, again, not normal behavior.
Wasn't it Scotty that said, I've seen him at his very worst. We've been through everything.
Where I'm going. This is where I'm going.
But not being a woman, because that's the craziest.
So literally the term he uses is, I've never seen him red-faced with hysteria.
Yes, hysteria.
So let's talk about hysteria as a term for a minute. So hysteria comes from the same root as the Greek word for uterus.
Oh, boy.
There was, because apparently this is a thing in medical history, there was a long period where doctors literally thought that the uterus would go moving around in a woman's body according to her emotional state.
Where's it gonna go? I mean...
This is the root of hysteria. This is where it comes from. Hysteria is a profoundly gendered term because it's about women going nuts because they have a uterus. Even up to the early 19th century, women were being diagnosed with hysteria and then being provided with vibrators as a way to treat it.
thanks
Process that
for the toy, but what are you talking about?
Like, process that for a second.
They just wanted a reason to see their women get off.
So when Scotty starts talking about, I'm just letting that go. So when Scotty starts talking about hysteria, this is not. This is a deliberate use of that term. It's literally invoking this concept that Captain Kirk, Janice Lester as Captain Kirk, is still suffering from this inherent weakness of being a woman, which is that she's not rational, that she's not capable of handling the decision-making process that is required for literally anyone in in positions of authority.
It was building up to that the whole episode. It was alluding to that, not alluding, like flashing flash bombs the whole time, and then it just came to is hysteria because she's a woman and that's how women act.
So what are the going back to one of the things I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, as part of this segment of Trekker's Delight, we've been looking at who's invited to the table. And what Turnabout Intruder tells us is that Laura is not invited at the table, and I think invited to the table, and I think she's actually not invited to the table for two reasons. I think there's a racial component here, but I also think there's like the main focus here is on gender. So if we're envisioning what a utopia looks like, because that is how the Federation has been sold from the jump. Bless you. But if a utopia is literally discounts the existence and the contributions of 51% of the population, is it a utopia?
I guess it depends on who you're asking. I think to some men that would be a utopia. To me, that would not be. That would be hell. That would be, let's trap me in a room full of. Well, I'm not gonna get political.
Because
but yes.
What's nuts about this episode is at no point does anyone talk about.
They don't address
the injustice here.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one talks
it's normal.
Yeah, like I mean, even Spock is talking in terms of, well, this is the accepted way things are done.
Mm-hmm. Even the women are just like, this is, of course she's crazy. They just accept it and move on.
I mean, now admittedly, like we're literally talking about an episode in which every time Christine Chapel walks out of the door, the camera literally focuses on her rear end, and it's all about it almost seems like it's trying to get an upskirt shot. So, like in terms of the cinematography, we are also kind of reinforcing this concept that women are lesser, that women are not not able to be significant. Like, I mean, so Janice Lester as Kirk starts telling Chapel what she can and can't do, and Chapel's not given the opportunity to make that decision. That falls on McCoy's shoulders. Now, I actually think this is a good move for McCoy, because I think what he's doing is he's trying to make it so that she doesn't have to make this choice, and that's the right call. He's not putting his subordinate in a truly awkward situation. But we continually see all of these women not having agency. Like we've got Christine Chapel, who's doing what she's told to do. We've also got this lieutenant that we've never seen before, because obviously Nichelle Nichols had something other to do. She doesn't get the opportunity to make a choice about committing mutiny until after Chekhov and Sulu have had that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Chekhov and Sulu basically say, all right, this is how we're going to... I mean, they work out with themselves. It's that. Yeah, no, like, the twins also really hated this episode. By the way,
I think everybody
they did. They were extremely confused because they're like, because they can very much identify like Captain Kirk and Spock, and they were like, why is Captain Kirk pink? And I'm like, that's a whole conversation, my friend. It's a whole conversation.
It's a good question.
I mean, they literally make Captain Kirk pink to communicate to the audience visually in that Captain Kirk's not Captain Kirk.
Mm-hmm. I just wish they had done it in a way that didn't make, like, I mean, she made a point to say, I've studied the command book and extensively. I can do this. I can, in just a few months, I will be undetectable. I just wish they didn't use like the lowest hanging fruit, and just made her. And the second she had to make some kind of decisions that just went batshit crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really what it is. I mean, she like the second somebody like throws up an obstacle, she goes to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
She just goes absolutely to pieces.
I mean, she's a doctor. You'd think she got to this point. We don't know what a doctor of what. Definitely not radiation poisoning.
Never even said what kind of radiation.
Exactly. But she made it. It's known that to be a doctor, I guess she had to have some kind of education, some status.
Also, can we have a brief conversation about the fact that, like, her paramour, the person who eventually takes over her care, McCoy explains to us that he's not a good doctor.
Like, he was dismissed from his previous employment. Yes,
he was, for both administrative errors and medical blunders, if I may use the term, because as this sort of lesser, I hate to say this because I don't like using these. I don't like talking in terms of like alpha and beta because that's actually rooted in really bad science. First off, it's rooted in bad science.
Yes.
Secondly, it's been adopted by an entire group of people to mean things it's not supposed to mean. So I don't like using that.
We call them bro dudes. It's okay. You can say it.
But Coleman is not good at anything, y'all. Like he's not good at anything, and he's only along for the ride for Janice Lester, and it's very obvious that he has this emotional connection to Janice Lester, but there's nothing outside of this sequence which
was amazing.
She's using him here. She's using him. She's aware of his feelings and she's manipulating him through those feelings because that's what women do, y'all.
Yes. And then again, he didn't feel like he was in control of the situation, or I guess as a man, until she was literally in pieces, could not even raise her head to look at anybody. And he was like, I am the hero. I'm going to lead you away to, I don't even know where they went, but it took that for him to come into his power.
But even as an incompetent man, he's not as crazy as she is.
No, he was listened to. I mean, he was respected to a point. And
not by Bones, but
well, Bones, yeah. Bones had that serious test to get to for Captain Kirk.
I swear, like, I honestly, at any given moment, I expected Bones to come out with, well, bless his heart, but
yes, bless his heart.
Because admittedly, DeForest Kelley's Georgia accent comes out a lot, but like it really came out in this episode, and
as it should for this episode. I mean, this episode was right for bless this heart moments. We should have gotten that.
I mean, it was just heinous, like just heinous. I mean, even Spock's response to Janice Lester is to tell her that directly that he will do anything in his power to stand against her. Spock's emotional expression in this episode goes off the charts.
Yes, like that side-eye glance when he knew something was going on in the hallway, and he just gave Bones that look like, yeah, he knew this was something. And then it took for him to be like, oh, yes, this is actually Captain Kirk, a man, to realize he's not crazy. It's just that he's a man trapped in this body.
But yeah, I mean, very obviously, at least as far as TOS goes, and that's kind of in the DNA that feeds into TNG and Deep Space Nine and all of the Bourbon era 90s Trek.
Well, this was the taste that we left in their mouth, for all those years. This was, here's your misogynistic send-off.
Like, fundamentally,
Oh, no.
Fundamentally, women are too emotional.
Correct.
They're too emotional. They're obsessed. They're obsessed with their physical appearance. Again, why is Kirk filing his nails?
Who do they have? Don't they have any women around that they could ask? Or they just like, that's what got me.
That's what I was saying. That's what I'm saying. Who did they console with?
Exactly. They didn't need to because they really thought women were cuckoo banana face.
And even if there was a woman that apparently gave pristine advice, that bitch must have been drunker than me.
Yeah, like, it was New Year's Eve, you know.
I don't. Again, going back to this, I don't think there was. I think there was really just this understanding that this is how things are.
They didn't think they needed to consult anyone because everyone knew this was how women act and this is how it is in the workforce. And a little real world story about that. You know, William Shatner had the flu during this filming, and apparently carrying Sandra Smith was too much for him, and he got tired. And he said, with his mouth to her face, said, let me find that. Oh, where is it? I can't find it. Okay, I can't find it. Oh, yes. You know I love you, baby. But you got to lose about 6 inches off that ass. And here's where it gets good. Which brought down the house. Yes. Like, that just brings it back. That's reality.
6 inches.
Yes. He said that. That wasn't in character. That was William Shatner saying it to Sandra Smith, his colleague, professional, and it brought the house down. I mean, if that doesn't tell you where their mindset was on that day, I don't know. If I was Sandra, I'd be like, it would not have ended well for William. Let me just tell you. There would have been some.
I mean, did anybody else notice that there's a completely unnecessary sequence in the middle where Shatner is shirtless and I swear, if Bones had said anything more about the peak of masculine
oh
health,
my gosh, he said it 4 times in a 60-second
vomit.
period. Yes, you're at your peak of health. I don't even know what he said. I was just like, no, he's not. He saw a pink light. That's not the peak of anything.
I mean, this is such a strange episode to end what was rather fundamentally a landmark series.
It's unfortunate that they didn't know it. I mean, at the time, they were in pre-production for episode 25, which William Shatner was set to produce or direct. I'm sorry. And then they got the news that in the middle of shooting this episode, this is it. This is the end.
I mean, for which we are all deeply grateful.
I would love to see that.
We've all seen Star Trek V. Like, we do need to remember that William Shatner made triple-breasted catgirls canon.
Look, I'll say what you will about Star Trek V, but that scene where they warped out of that torpedo from that Klingon ship was the best fucking thing I've ever seen in the TOS films. That was dope. Like, the way they did the cinematography in that scene, warp speed now. Rigor.
Nice.
Warp speed now.
Chef's kiss.
Right, guys, we are at the hour and 10-minute mark. So,
what?
Do you have any final episodes? Can we
see? We made it, Nora. We made it.
We did it. It was iffy for a while, but we made it.
I mean, did it feel like an hour to you? It didn't feel like an hour to me.
It did not. We were just chatting away, talking about tropes.
So yeah, final thoughts. Final takeaways from this episode.
It was garbage. The end. There were a few good moments.
It is so garbage that 52 years later, you made William Wesley Wofford drunk as fuck on Trucker's Delight for the first time. Congratulations.
I mean, that is cause to celebrate. I would, but I'm out of wine.
I mean, yeah, like, this is, oh my god.
Oh no, the glasses are on. You hit it.
However, that said, yeah, this is not TOS.
It's bad juju.
But one of the things that I really love about Star Trek is that Star Trek is a narrative of improvement. And even when we have episodes like this, they continue to work on it. Because fundamental to the ethos of Star Trek is that eventually, like, that even if we don't get it right now, we keep working on it so that eventually we're going to get there. Right? So Turnabout Intruder is pretty far down at the bottom.
Red
but
flags.
It is not where Star Trek finishes. It's not even where Star Trek stays. So one of the things we're going to do for our next episode of FTP is we are going to look at an animated series episode called The Lorelei Signal, in which Uhura gets to be a BAMF, frankly.
That's already looking up.
So I want to say very much thank you to Nora for joining us on this episode. It was super fun to have you.
Fangirling all over the place. I love you guys. This is a great show.
Thank you. We're probably going to cut William off, not going to lie.
No, we're no regulators here. I'm new, but we don't regulate.
But yes.
SEA.
We thank you very much for watching our episode. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. Let us know what you would like to see as we are continuing through what is going to be an arc about women in Star Trek going forward. So thanks, guys. And this is Marie Brownhill signing off for FTP. Live long and prosper.
See you guys.
I just want to talk to her. No, I just want to talk to her. Like I heard, like what I think Robin said. I think she wanted to pull her hands back.
But she wanted to do a bitch.
No, she wanted to.
Bitch.
So if you can't tell, they have thoughts about Discovery.
Look, here's the thing. Cancel culture might get everyone else, but they won't come for me in this subject. If you are our allies, we are not talking to you. We are not talking to you. This does not. Pop. Okay, we're not talking to you. Stop trying to take our shit and make it your goddamn business. It ain't got nothing to do with you. It ain't got nothing to do with you. Did I say that? No. I said Packers and Kardashian. If you are neither in that category, go to another show.